The left is not all right. Across media outlets, they're having a very, very hard time. They have 1,453 days to go before Donald Trump leaves the White House, and they're using all their energy in the first week. They can't keep up. None of us have ever seen a presidential administration like this. One of the arguments that supporters of Donald Trump made early on was that having been there before, this time he would knew how to put his foot on the accelerator on day one. And they were right. And he's moving so fast. Just for perspective, the Senate Democrats have scheduled a press conference today to talk about the January 6th pardons that happened 8 days ago. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has moved on to fixing the military and getting rid of DEI and trans soldiers, among other things, signing a series of executive orders, getting rid of members of the National Labor Relations Board, which is a very big deal constitutionally we'll get to. But first, I got to give you a sense of this. This is Adnan Gerhardis, or however you say his name, on MSNBC, just melting down over deportations.
Here's what I think the real tipping point is and will be. The thing that I would say Donald Trump deserves most praise for is that he intuited in 2016 and then again in 24 that there was an emotion out there among many, many people of feeling undefended, of feeling unseen and unheard by the system, of feeling defenseless against chaos and entropy. And that political emotion was underserved, was under-recognized by those of us in the media, was underserved by the Democratic Party, was underserved by his own different flavor of Republicans. And he was able to see that. People wanted to be advocated for. Now, I have every quibble with every actual thing he wanted to do to advocate for them, but he won for a reason. He won because he was able to see that. When you start having Gestapo raids in America, and we start becoming a country where, as in East Germany, a knock on the door is the thing people are thinking about instead of the brilliant idea they want to go create, then we are moving very, very far from the president worrying about what regular people need, right? He is distracting people with this flurry of activity, but none of these images you're seeing are going to make your life better.
Really? So getting rid of the drug dealers, the violent gang members, the rapists from Central and South American countries, that's not going to make our lives better. I assure you it will. The rush to this is Gestapo, this is Third Reich, this is East Germany is nonsense. Notice what he can't say, what they can't say on television, what they can't be honest about is who is he actually deporting. He's not deporting grandmothers. He's deporting criminals. He's deporting people who are already ordered to leave the country. He's not reporting the people they're trying to be sympathetic about, and that's why they can't say it. It's very notable when you listen to the people on television talking about this, complaining about this. They're not telling you honestly who Donald Trump is deporting. This is Eddie Glaude. All of this, so much of this, I should say, not all of it, but most of it from MSNBC. They're just losing their minds here.
Right. I mean, Tom Homan is engaged in cosplay. He wants to be Bull Connor for our current days. Is that right? And, you know, there's a sense in which this moral question that has animated our politics looms large. And the question that I keep asking myself is, what is the Trump administration asking each of us to consent to? Right. So as we delve into this question, and there are those, like you said, it's the majority of the American people want to get rid of.
I got to tell you, what's on the cryon on MSNBC as this clip is playing is schools try to reassure families amid deportation fears. That's literally what the screen says as this guy is talking on MSNBC.
Violent criminals who are here illegally. Mm-hmm. But what are we conceding? What are we consenting to when we say that they can do this to children? When we say that they can attack a 150-year precedent? What are we allowing? And so the question becomes, what are the implications for how we understand ourselves in relation to this moment? So it's not only a political question, it's a deeply, deeply moral question.
It's a deeply moral question that the public is on the right side of morality on, and these guys are on the wrong side. They don't want to acknowledge the class of people being deported. They're fine having the criminals in the country, and Donald Trump is not. This is, of course, Joy Reid.
If that sounds vaguely familiar, that's because it is. Similarities to what happened in Germany and what's happening now in America are just undeniable. History may not repeat verbatim, but it sure does rhyme. Trump and Stephen Miller, his former director of speechwriting, depict non-white immigrants as carriers of deadly diseases who are violent terrorists. Trump was returned to the presidency after staging a coup and has exerted control of media or social media in order to parrot anti-immigrant vitriol and openly hateful anti-LGBTQ language.
Says someone who would know, given her past. By the way, what is happening with Joy Reid's face? She's looking like every day she's like slowly transforming into a llama. It's very, very weird. But nonetheless, did you hear that? He took power by coup. That's what she's claiming. Now let's move over to Scott Jennings, breathing breath of fresh air on MSN or on CNN.
If I may, if you came into the country illegally, you're a criminal. You broke our laws. You knew it when you did it.
But the majority of immigrants, that is pretty much the only crime that they've committed is either entering or re-entering the country. And they've been,
you've been
living here for like 20, 30 years. You've built businesses, you've built homes, you are part of the fabric of the country, you're part of the community. And that is not only that affects the immigrant family or the people that are getting their family members deported, that affects all of society. When kids start asking, why hasn't my best friend come back to school? Why is, why did my friend disappear? When businesses start to shutter, when foreclosures start happening.
No amount, by the way, no amount of berating me about this is going to change the fact that the American people literally just voted for this.
You're right.
They want the criminals out. They want the violent people out. And there's really not much of a controversy about it.
Finish the sentence. Because your point right before you said that was you committed a crime because you came across the border.
Correct.
So the sentence that you want to say is they want the violent people out, and they want the criminals out, and they want everybody else out.
Correct.
So there you have it.
They want illegal immigration to end. They want it to end.
So.
Wow. God bless Scott Jennings for putting up with, good Lord. It is like the tampon brigade. And I'm sorry if that offends you, but these are the cattiest dumb women on television are on that show on CNN. Just a bunch of vapid naggers. Good gracious. It's insufferable. And I'm sorry. I swore I would never play clips from that show again. But Scott Jennings, God bless him, for pointing out Americans voted for this. Americans overwhelmingly support this. And one more from MSNBC again. This is Matthew Dowd, who worked for George Bush and then declared himself a Democrat who couldn't work with Republicans anymore because of George W. Bush.
Even experts knowing the law and all of that. To me, I think this says something more about us as a country, what's going on. I think he's going to be able to do this, and I don't think he's going to suffer any repercussions from the people that voted for him until something actually happens in their lives that changes their lives because of some action of his. I think that's the difficult spot we're in. I continue to do these things. I think arguing about whether or not this has been done before, I think matters to people. I think saying that he violates norms, I don't think matters to people. I think we're in that space, that time and space, where the only protection I think the American public has is either one, through the legal system, and I have my doubts about that as it finally gets to the Supreme Court. But two is, how do people protect themselves through any ramifications that these things can have? And I think that's the spot we're in. We're at a time in a country where a majority of the country, or at least a plurality of the country, Ari, doesn't seem to care right now that he violates norms and does these kind of things.
You're absolutely right. We don't care that he violates norms, and the reason is because you people broke the country. Your norms that he's breaking are just the things you put in place to protect your power when you're out of power. That's what Democrats do. They put in place standard operating procedures that they expect everyone else to adhere to. And most Republicans have come along in the past and they've gone along with it because they thought they were fairly reasonable. Trump say, nope, I'm smashing through your norms that protect you when you are out of power, because you are out of power, so you shouldn't get to dictate how government operates. And again, it is so notable. The most important thing is what you are not hearing on CNN, what you are not hearing on MSNBC, and that is who Donald Trump is deporting. Who are they? Well, they were complaining on CNN in that clip with Scott Jennings over having Dr. Phil tag along. You know who Dr. Phil tagged along and found? A child rapist from Thailand who they were deporting. They arrested this morning in New York City. Rapists. People wanted for theft, burglary, assault, manslaughter, drugs. These are violent people. These are violent people. They don't belong here. To Scott Jennings' point, they broke the law coming here. But Donald Trump isn't targeting the people who just came here illegally. He's targeting the people who were lawbreakers before they came here or are lawbreakers now. And you're not hearing that on CNN. You're not hearing that on MSNBC. And you got to start wondering, are the Democrats okay with the rapists and the murderers? Because the Democrats in Congress say all the time, we would support Donald Trump if that's who he was targeting. And yet they don't support him, and that's who he's targeting, so they must not really support him. They want to scream loudly about what Trump is doing without being honest about what he's doing. The crazy one to me, though, are the Nazi comparisons. Because what they're essentially doing is they're telling you, the American people, that you are Nazis. They are trying to tell you that you're the bad guy. This gets back to Bishop Budd, who lectured Donald Trump. I wrote about it over the weekend. If you subscribe to the email, I send it out to everybody. You can text DATA to 33777 and read it. Bishop Budd, which she said to Donald Trump about show mercy and compassion to the migrant, to the refugee, to the gay person, to the trans person. That's something Jesus would say. I don't dispute it. He would say also, repent. He would make them aware of their sins and call them to repent, which she never does. She wasn't drawing Donald Trump to Christ, and that's the problem with her speech. She wanted to use Jesus for convenience, not for conviction. He was just useful for her to sell left-wing pablum. And the reason the media praised Bishop Budd and is denouncing any Christian who challenged her speech is because what she did is what these people are doing on CNN and MSNBC. They are reflecting themselves to you. They are signaling to you that they are better than you. They're more virtuous than you. They are more gracious than you. They're more welcoming than you. They are superior to you. And in their moral relativism, in their collapse of civilized behavior, where they mask it among platitudes and wokeness to parade around the fact that they've lost their compassion for their neighbor, they no longer love their neighbor. What they're really doing here is they're masking that you are the problem, not the rapists, the drug dealers, the gangbangers, and the murderers who came into this country illegally. They hate you and they love them. That's a perversion of loving their neighbor. And you know, as Gertrude Himmelfarb once said, what they do is they define deviancy so that deviancy is normal and normal is deviant. And we have this paraded across the American media right now where the bad guys are now the good guys and the good guys are the bad guys. And you happen to be the good guys turned bad on MSNBC and CNN.